What Bible stories could also be Florida man stories? Florida man replaces all fluids at party with alcohol. Florida man claims giant flood will destroy Earth, builds boat to save all animals, no room for humans. Florida man kills man with donkey jaw. Florida man claims wife pregnant with son of God. Quote, "Of course it's God's, we've literally never had sex." Elderly Florida man converses with flaming shrub, now claims ownership over royal slaves. I think a better question is, what biblical story couldn't also be a Florida man story? Everything about Lot and his daughters sounds straight out of Florida. Not the nice part of Florida near the coast. We're talking swampy middle part. The one where Jesus got mad at a fig tree for not having figs out of season and yelled at it. Florida man fled town after offering his daughters up to be raped, gets drunk and claims his daughters raped him. Wife missing and presumes salty about it. Florida man hallucinates that God told him to take his son to the top of a mountain to kill him, stops short of murder, telling police God changed his mind and didn't want him to kill his son after all, now facing charges for assault with a deadly weapon and false imprisonment. The bald prophet who has summoned bears to kill children for making fun of him. Woman gives birth to a child that's not her husband's, also claims to be a virgin. I could spend 5 minutes on the street in Florida and find at least one person who claims to be the son of God. Florida man leads friend group into desert, gets lost for 40 years. Florida little person kills tall person with slingshot. Mob of Florida men try to gang rape sisters. Sisters subsequently rape father. Florida woman steals fruit, blames reptile. Florida man kills hundreds with donkey bone. Florida man kidnaps animals, hides them on boat. Florida man passes out drunk and gets raped by son, leading to some really racist comments about black people and ham. Florida man talks to bush, a plant, not the equally charismatic former governor. Florida man builds boat to save his animals from cataclysmic flood. Boat survives Hurricane Francis storm surge. The whole Bible is a compilation of Florida man stories. Florida man gets wasted and supposedly killed, then wakes up in a cave 3 days later. Lunatic 6 bears on children for teasing his baldness. Florida man impregnates former daughter-in-law and sex for cash deal, then leads lynch mob to burn her at stake. Faces charges of solicitation, false imprisonment, and attempted murder. Basically every Old Testament story ever, and a lot from the NT. Florida man builds skyscraper and starts cult, saying they will reach God. Florida man wanders the wilderness eating nothing but honey and locusts, says Messiah almost here. Florida man says he was swallowed by whale for 3 days and 3 nights, claims to have had divine experience in the stomach. Florida man claims his friend is the Messiah, then snitches on him to authorities for reward. Florida man claims to have killed Bigfoot with slingshot, more to come at noon. I'd say Judas, but he's more of the inside the Beltway Washington D.C. types. Jonah and the whale. Florida man burns employees for disagreeing with his agenda. Florida man threatens to cut baby in half to stop 2 women from fighting. The irony here is that the Bible stories are far-fetched and untrue, yet people believe it, and what happens in Florida is real and so far-fetched you'd think it was fake and can't believe it. Florida man dooms city by turning back. Florida man swallowed by whale. Florida man cuts son's penis, claims God told him to do so. Florida man is asked to get 100 foreskins. He says fuck that and doesn't stop until he gets 200 foreskins. Florida man makes woman out of son's rib. Elisha the prophet, lightly adapted from the original text. Bald-ass Elisha was wandering toward his next village to perform works in the name of the Lord. This was top dog prophet. He was man of God, which is its own word in Hebrew. It's even better than prophet, super prophet. So bald-ass Elisha is wandering along, and a bunch of redneck kids come running up and make fun of him. You bald motherfucker, look at your bald-ass head. This man of God, this super prophet, he who had only just taken the mantle from Elijah, who was the OG man of God, Elisha the mouthpiece for Yahweh on earth, looks at these children who are mocking him. And he says, I have enormous power, I curse you in the name of my power. And 2 she-bears came out of the woods and killed all the children, in the name of the Lord. That is some Florida shit. TLDR, Florida man kills group of children with she-bears, they called me bald. Florida man lights foxes on fire and lets them run through crops. Florida man rips out the jawbone of a goat and murders 1,000 people. Florida man almost sacrifices his own son because voices told him to. Florida man, heckled by children for his baldness, unleashes 2 bears, 42 kids killed. Florida man enters temple and flips tables belonging to money lenders, avoids arrest. Florida man dies after being bound to wooden pole and stabbed, revives few days later. Florida man comes up with 12 new laws after spending week in cave. Florida man fed to lions as punishment befriends lions, trains them to eat government officials and their families. Florida man threatens destruction on community for not adopting woke policies. More or less the Book of Amos. Florida man rants outside governor's mansion, claims to have summoned plague of frogs. Zoologists call them cane toads. Daniel getting thrown to the lions and then making friends with them. Florida man takes orders from burning bush. Florida man strikes deal with uncle to work 7 years to marry his cousin. Accidentally marries wrong cousin, must work another 7 years. Florida man finds out his girlfriend is cheating, gets worst haircut ever, and destroys her parents' house in a fit of rage. Florida woman shaves man's head to weaken him for a weird religious prank. Florida man unleashes 2 bears on a crowd of kids for making fun of his bald head. Florida man has husband of his secret lover killed. Florida man is swallowed by whale, whole, regurgitated. Florida man named Job has a real shitty life, and just when he thinks it can't get any worse, Ron DeSantis gets elected for another term. Florida man gets stuck in a whale and lives. Nazareth man is crucified by disgruntled Romans, walks it off half a week later. Florida man kills brother with rock after thinking he's God's favorite. God banishes him to Alabama. Florida man returns from 5-month cruise, gets drunk on homemade wine, strips naked and passes out in front of family. Domestic dispute ensues. Florida man catches wild foxes, ties flaming torches to their tails, lets them free in nearby wheat field after disagreement with owner. Samson. On second thought. Just the whole story of Samson. Florida man brings 100 foreskins to ask man for his daughter in marriage. Florida man sends bears to murder children after they mock his baldness. Hands, feet and skull discovered near local politician's residence. Body parts are believed to be the remains of his mother. Witnesses claim she was pushed out of window by servants, trampled by horses, and eaten by stray dogs. No charges are being brought against servants, who had previously been castrated. Alcoholic builds a giant boat and hoards 2 of every animal in existence on there with his family, claims everybody is about to drown. Florida governor upset that constituents want baby to rule instead of him. Maybe some of Revelations will take place in Florida. Florida man gets betrayed by friend and ends up crucified but comes back 3 days later. Moses spilt the sea, Florida man so high he thought he split the sea and drowned. Florida man killed by God after pulling out and refusing to impregnate his sister-in-law. Florida man attempts to put 2 of each animal on ship due paranoia of impending global flood. Florida man's son comes to him saying his soon-to-be wife is pregnant with another man's child. Florida man and son go to burn her at the stake to get revenge only to find out that the soon-to-be wife was a pretend prostitute that the Florida man had slept with and impregnated earlier. And so it came that upon inhaling the salts of the Dead Sea that Graydon was covered in a demonic shroud and so feasted upon the face of Josiah. Florida woman seduces enemy general to take a nap in her tent, drives a tent stake through his head. One for the ladies. Florida woman places newborn baby in a basket and lets it flow down the river. Children mocked Florida man and he responded by sicking bears on them. Florida man kills giant with slingshot. Samson and the lion. In this story, Samson kills a lion with his bare hands and later returns to the carcass to find a swarm of bees making honey in its mouth. Not to be shady, but the Bible prophets were unhinged to the power of Florida man cubed. There is also the story of David and Bathsheba. Florida man riding boogie board with 2 Chihuahua puppies claims to be saving the Earth's animal population from massive flooding. Florida man mutilates own genitals, attempts to murder son. Florida man builds massive boat for imminent, God-sent flood. Florida man kills larger man with a makeshift sling and a pebble. Florida man jumps in lion enclosure at local zoo. This is such a good question, Lamau. Virgin Florida woman gives birth to son she claims is divine. All of them. David and Goliath. Florida woman murders boyfriend with tent peg. Florida woman arrested at supermarket, took off her clothes and laid naked in produce section. Claims a snake told me to do it. Eats apples. Florida man gets eaten by whale and survives. Florida man works with police to capture wanted Florida man. Florida man builds a boat with 2 of every animal on board. Florida man and woman eat from garden tree, kicked out. Florida man throws stick on the ground, thinks it's a snake. Florida community builds Grand Tory, Ahora nadie puede entenderse.